What's up, everyone? Aaron Nagler here for PackersNews.com, live on Facebook after the Packers fall to the Detroit Lions, being swept by their division rival for the first time since 1991. The Packers will head into the offseason with plenty of questions. Their first losing season in a very long time, falling to 7-9 on the year. Thought I'd jump on here after hearing from Mike McCarthy and Brett Hundley to talk to you fine folks, see what's on your mind after the Packers. Let's put it kindly, they embarrassed themselves for a good chunk of the game here in Detroit on Sunday afternoon. It's over. Yes, mercifully, it is. Sanjay, embarrassing, I think, is the right word. Any chance we replace HaHa? Well, I guess it's a possibility. They have exercised the fifth-year option, which is guaranteed for injury, but they can get out from under it if they cut him prior to the start of the league year, but I would be absolutely shocked if they made that move. Thoughts on the play of HaHa Clinton-Dix today? Julie, I saw what everyone else saw, a disinterested, unmotivated lack of effort from one of their starting guys, which is pretty embarrassing. Capers and Hundley need to go. I believe Capers probably will. Hundley, I think, will be back for one more year. He has one more year left on his contract. Now, maybe the Packers bring in some competition for him, and maybe they cut him down the line, but right now he's slated to be back next year. What was the point in putting Callahan in for the last 2 minutes? I asked McCarthy that, and he said he wanted to get the guy, he wanted him to touch the field. He wanted to get him a few throws. Those are exact words. Which kind of flies in the face of everything he was saying for the last 2 weeks about this not being preseason and being there to win the game. But that's what the man said. Glad the season is over. No more waking up at 2 a.m. in Germany. You're following this game 2 a.m. in Germany? Hats off to you. That's impressive. Sad end to a season that began 4-1. Well, obviously the Rodgers injury changed everything. I don't feel I have a leg to stand on after watching that. In defending Capers and McCarthy, it was a lackluster effort from a lot of guys there. I will say though, for as much as you saw guys like Devon House and HaHa Clinton-Dix turning down tackle attempts, I thought Clay Matthews played his butt off in a meaningless football game. He's out there in the fourth quarter shedding blockers and dropping ball carriers for negative yardage. David Bakhtiari played his tail off. The guys along the offensive line played hard. I thought Randall Cobb played his butt off. So there was a lot. Jamal Williams ran as hard as he ever has. So there were plenty of guys out there that were giving the effort you would expect to see from a professional. But the problem is the ones who weren't. Obviously, your eye is drawn to them, and it is pretty glaring. Any chance McCarthy might move on? Doug, I would doubt he'd do so voluntarily. He has 1 year left on his deal. I can't imagine he would up and just quit and or retire. Mike McCarthy looked demoralized in his presser. Yes, he did. It's got to be a demoralizing position to be in. The team moved the ball pretty well in the beginning of the game, but the turnovers absolutely killed them, as he said in his opening statement. But the way the team kind of folded as the game went on, I think it's probably more disheartening to him than anything else. Oh, thank you, Mark. Thanks for the kind words about the podcast. I enjoy doing it, and I'm just glad people listen. Kind of shocking, actually. How much pressure is on Mike McCarthy? There's always pressure, but you got to think it ratchets up this offseason. Too many guys didn't care. That is on coaching. I'm 50-50 on that. Some of it's on coaching, but these are paid professionals. It is their job to get out there and play to the full extent of their ability. I get rah-rah speeches and all that and playing for pride and what have you, but ultimately these are professionals. It's their job to go out there and play. So, yes, inspiration, playing for your coach, whatever, that's part of it, but I think a greater responsibility lies with the player. Who would be a good replacement for Capers? Bruce, I've been saying all along I would expect them to make a run at Vic Fangio, the defensive coordinator for the Bears. He is one of the better defensive minds in the league. He runs a 3-4 principal defense, much like Capers does, except he is a lot more in tune with modern offenses. If you watch the Bears this year, for as bad as they were, and they were a bad football team, his guys played hard week in, week out, and did a great job of limiting big plays. That is something, obviously, that Dom Capers, yet on display yet again this week, has had real trouble doing the last couple of years. You going to keep your beard till next year? No, Aaron. I most certainly will not be. Randall Cobb is staying in Green Bay. Yes, Patrick, he is. Glenn Dix looked like a high school player. He certainly didn't look good. Do you think Ted finally moves on too? I think it's a possibility. I don't think it's a likelihood, but I think it's a possibility. There's a whole lot of uncertainty surrounding the team right now. The opportunity is certainly there if Mark Murphy were to make a suggestion / kind of push, and or maybe Ted Thompson just feels it's time. But Mark Murphy has repeatedly said that he is allowed to continue on as long as he wants. At least until his contract is up, which isn't until after next year. So we'll see. It's a possibility, but I tend to doubt it. Would Kevin Green come back to coach? I would doubt it. Sure seems like he got out of Green Bay for a reason. We don't really know what that is. No one's ever really said. But, you know, the guy quit on the team and then came back to coach in New York. I think that says a lot. Wood thinks that Witt would be a good D coordinator. I agree with Ryan on that one. I don't know if the Packers would make that move. It's a pretty big jump, but possibly. How to explain HaHa's lack of effort? You would have to ask HaHa Glenn Dix, and I'm sure somebody did in the locker room. Ted goes, who might make a good GM? Well, they have an ample stable of guys in their personnel group, whether it's Elliot Wolf, Brian Gutekunst, maybe Alonzo Highsmith. All those guys would do a good job. I would be very surprised if they looked outside the organization. They've basically grown personnel there in Green Bay with all the guys that have come out of the Ron Wolf tree and gone on to do decent to very good jobs elsewhere. I would be very surprised if they looked outside the building. What draft pick will we get? Right now, Casey, I think they're at 13, but that may change with some of the afternoon games. I'm not quite sure, but I think they're hovering right around 13 at the moment. Gus Bradley in Chargerland could come available. Yes, his contract, he's a free agent, as is Vic Fangio. You have to think both of those guys will be highly sought after starting tonight. Is it likely Jordy is cut due to salary reasons? I tend to doubt it. He indicated on the radio earlier this week that he would be open to restructuring / taking a pay cut. I think that's the move the Packers will most likely make. Not necessarily, but you know that's a possibility. But I don't see him being cut. I think he's still an asset to the team when Rodgers is the quarterback. Williams needs to be paid. He is one hell of a back and a great blocker. Plus he can catch. Well, James, he can, except his drop today directly led to that interception on the end of the first drive. But I agree with you. I think he's a very good back. I think he's the best back they have in pass protection. He is a hard runner. He had a couple troubles today reeling in the football. He also had the drop on the screen pass. But for the most part, I agree. I think he's very good. And they don't really have to pay him because he's got 3 years left in his deal. Do we get a 5 pick because of the Bennett issue? Jeff, if you mean a 5th round pick, I believe that's what it equals out to, the compensatory pick. We won't know for sure until probably just before the combine. The bottom of the roster is poor. Yes and no, Connor. I thought you saw some nice things from Reggie Gilbert today, and I thought Lindsey Pipkins played pretty well in spurts. I think obviously he had made some mistakes, but for a guy getting his first real kind of stretch of action, I thought he's shown some promise. So I wouldn't necessarily say it's all poor. Obviously, bottom of the roster is going to be poor. That's why they're the bottom of the roster. But that's what the offseason's about, taking a look at it and seeing where you can improve. Edge rusher, DB, O-line, top draft needs. Joe, I think that's a pretty good list. I think right tackle has got to be looked at. I also think tight end has got to be thrown in there. A lot of uncertainty at that position heading into this offseason. As bad as Hundley was today, the drop certainly didn't help. Absolutely. McCarthy referenced that in his presser after the game. 6 drops today, 6 or 7, depending on who you talked to last week. You know, any quarterback is going to struggle in that situation. And their numbers are going to be reflective of that. Mike won't play Aaron Jones. Jones is too fast. No, Aaron Jones makes too many mistakes in pass protection, which could end up helping get his quarterback killed. Jones is a great runner, but he's got to learn when and where to stick his nose in there and which guys to pick up when the bullets are flying. Ty should be the number 1 back in 2018. Daniel, I don't think that's going to happen. free agents to target this offseason, Matthew, asked me after the franchise tags are applied. Right now, all the lists you're going to look at, they're going to be plentiful over the course of the next few weeks. But they're just, A, a starting point, and B, really deceptive, because a lot of the quote-unquote top free agents will end up back with the teams that they're supposedly leaving because of the franchise and transition tags. So I'm sure we'll be getting to all of that at PackersNews.com in the upcoming weeks. Who was at right tackle today? McCray. He got abused. He did, and as I said on Twitter, it's hard for me to kill him on that. He is a guard playing tackle on the road against, obviously the Lions flipped their best pass rusher over to that side because there's a backup there, a backup guard playing starting right tackle in a house where Brian Bulaga has struggled in this building quite often, and he's one of the better tackles in the league. So I don't think that was any surprise. And it's hard for me to kill him for it. I mean, Ziggy Ansah is one of the most talented pass rushers in the game, playing in his house on turf. McCray doesn't. That's a tough ask for McCray. Badgers, Titan, free agents, downfield receiver. Confused. No more capers, anchovies. Anchovies are the way forward? Now I'm confused. This team is still better than the Pack team of the 70s and 80s. I would say yes. If everyone is healthy, I would agree with that statement. When will they announce firings? Matthew, I tend to think McCarthy will, begin his his season overview tonight, and we'll see. Maybe he and or Capers come to some kind of agreement and they announce something, but I wouldn't be holding my breath. We know for certain that Capers is gone. Mark, we do not. I know there have been a lot of reports out there, but there's been nothing official. Love Cobb as a player and a person, but move Ty back into his spot. Keep Jordy on outside one more year. Why does he have to be moved into Cobb's spot? Cobb is a very good football player. I don't understand why people want to marginalize him. There's room for both of them. Ted Thompson should be fired, not fired. Fire. It's like a club thing. Is he out there dancing? When Raji comes back, he will be an all-pro. Thank you for that, Mike. I needed that laugh. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Sorry if I didn't get to your question. They go by very fast, but we'll be back all throughout the week and overnight, chronicling everything that goes on with the Packers. Make sure you keep it at PackersNews.com for all the latest, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Thanks a lot, everyone.